morning. Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning. How are you?
We're doing good.
That's good. What you got going on over there? That's talking to me and scaring me. Did you just hear that?
Yeah.
Who was that over there talking to me and scaring me?
Oh no, it was someone's at the front door.
Oh, okay.
I have a client picking up a package.
Oh, you all right. You all right. You're not messing with you. How you doing this
Yeah,
morning?
look, it caught me. Each other. Dang, what was that? I'm like, okay, but
Oh, so before we even start, let's just make this clear. I am out of breath. I am overwhelmed, and I am super duper excited about today's show because we're about to play a game today. Are y'all ready? You ready, Maria?
I am ready.
Okay, so today's show is actually a game show, so to speak. So if you're out there, you want to join in and post some answers in our comments, that's fine. But we're going to talk about different things that attain to, as of course with every episode, attain to events. But today's game is going to be, did you know? You got me?
Oh,
You
yes.
ready?
Did you know?
So the Did You Know game, it's not a hard game per se, but it could be a hard game for those who really don't know all these things. This is as pertaining to being a client, be it a birthday party, it's any type of event. It could be even a kid's party, a wedding or whatever. But this pertains to clients. These could be pertaining to guests, potential guests. This could also be pertaining to vendors. So you can be anybody and attempt to answer these questions for us today. Okay?
Okay.
I hope y'all are ready. So I'm gonna ask the first round question, then Mario's gonna ask another round question. And if you have a question or you have a suggested question that you already know the answer to, you can always submit that in our comments as well. So you ready to go with that?
I am ready.
Okay, so I'm going to say that this is a category of planning a birthday party, a sweet 16 birthday party. You ready?
Ready.
Did you know that there are over 65% out of 100% of the venues in, let's just say in the state of North Carolina, over 65% of them do not allow you to have sweet 16s at their locations? Did you know that?
No, why?
They actually, that's a good question. They actually feel that they're potentially harmful to their venue, because sometimes the kids get a little rowdy. Sometimes there are not enough parents present. Sometimes, unfortunately, this attached all of our younger kids as well as adults. There may be some gang-related kids attending um, the event, and unless a parent or two, or chaperone or two, or DJ or two, or any adult in the room recognizes, they could be throwing up gang signs and could cause commotion. So a lot of venues do not allow teen events in their venue. And if they do, did you know, they require security, that you hire security at their venue.
No, I've never. I'll be honest. That's the first time I've ever heard that one.
A lot of the larger venues are I don't want to disregard anybody's venue, because I do know of a few. I know offhand of a couple of venues I could mention that do not have a stipulation like that. Like they don't. It doesn't matter to them if you're having a kids event or not. But there are some that will allow you to have one, but they require that you hire security. But there's a lot of larger venues like in Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham. There's a few here in Greensboro that do not allow you to have teen related events
Hmm.
because of past negative experiences. Who knew? Just
Yeah, that is kind of wow. Okay. I mean, I understand. I kind of understand to a degree, but yeah, I've never like of all the Sweet 16s I've done. I've
hmm
done one almost at every venue.
But have you seen the contracts with those venues? Everyone that you've done.
I mean, most of the time, most of the ones I've done, they were very formal type events.
Got you.
They weren't
But
really
you
right.
know
I
some
guess
of
that,
my
I mean, I guess that was because most of my Sweet 16s have been like almost like weddings,
mm-hmm.
like either the quinceañeras or the Sweet 16s. Majority of the time, they're more formal events.
And I've done quite a few that are very formal, but I've also encountered some that have not been very formal and have had I've seen the potential for things to happen. It has actually happened, but then I've been finding out over the last 6 years that there are some venues who will not allow you to have one. Just as there's some that will allow you to have one, but they have, a lot of really strict requirements to allow you to have it. So it's just interesting that I've been finding this out over the last 5 to 6 years.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so give me your did you know?
Did you know that December, January, and September are the worst months to plan weddings
Why do you say that?
because of weather?
Mm.
Between bad weather, travel conditions, those are the three worstest months to. And September is a bad month because of hurricane season.
Which we're in the midst of right now.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
We're both
September,
freaking out about upcoming events and the hurricane and everything else right now.
and
Um,
September also that month where everything starts to cool down,
hmm
but at the same time, it's also just like as we speak, it's still August, but here it is. We're dealing with a hurricane. So hurricane season is at its worst between technically the end of August, like mid September. I know within the 10 years I've been in business, I've had four weddings that were either rescheduled or relocated because of hurricanes.
I've got my numbers somewhere between 8 and 12
Okay, you've
that were
been doing it a
either
little bit longer than me.
yeah, they either canceled or rescheduled or relocated. One of those three. So I understand, and it's really hard because, you know, not to be funny to anybody, but God rules that we don't.
Right,
So there's nothing we can do about that. The hard part is especially on guests who have already had travel plans because sometimes their travel plans get canceled because of the bad weather, depending on where we're coming from.
right, and
You
that's
know,
the thing is because that's another thing about hurricanes is when hurricanes hit, it doesn't. It's just like it might impact a certain location, but at the same time, it affects the entire area in reference to the travel there, the pretty much everything has an impact on it. So then it causes issues. In some cases, causes delays if you're shipping stuff.
yeah.
So that's why I say September is probably. I know that's the most impact I've always had was January, February, and September are the months that are really bad for planning any event in general, but definitely bad for weddings.
And another thing, and just a little footnote on that, because if you're doing something in January, February, because we did something in March, right?
Hmm.
Um, I've done quite a few things in January and in February for people. But usually that time of year is harder because you have people that need to travel from places like Maryland,
Right,
DC area, northern eastern, the eastern board or whatever, or Detroit. They get snow, like real snow. Where North Carolina don't get real snow. We get
right.
some snow, but they get real snow, like
Hmm.
18 inches or something like that. So, when you're planning, you got to think about where your people are coming from too. And then
Absolutely.
during August and September, because I usually say midway August through the end of September, usually kind of like in the rough zone of weather, you got to consider also where people are traveling from there and where they're traveling to. If you are having a wedding, probably in the maybe more like the Tennessee area or something during that time, it might not be as bad. But in North Carolina, we're unpredictable. Like we're the only state, because this is where I live. This is the only state I know you can have all seasons in one damn day. I mean,
Right,
seriously. So we can have we can start off like 40-degree weather in the morning, be 89, 93 degrees by midday, and then we can have
right,
rain in the afternoon, and it's always all over the place. So just be careful and be mindful. I know there's no way to predict the weather, accurately, but just be mindful of that when you're starting to plan that. And even as you're getting closer to the date, you may want to consider being a little flexible too, and understand that maybe some people can't travel to you because of the weather, because of conditions. We just, yeah, you're right, Richard. We just don't know. You know,
Right.
we're great at our jobs, but there's some things that are outside of our realms
Absolutely.
of control. Okay, so did you know this? I'm up, right?
Yeah, you're next. You're
Okay,
right.
so here's mine. Did you know that when clients are planning most events, and especially when they're working with like their DJ per se, they actually have requested music lists and requested music lists of what not to play. Did y'all know that?
Absolutely. I that has been a that has been a sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, because as a DJ, you know, if a client is, let's say, micromanaging in a sense, um, if they're saying that they just want this music and nothing else, then it ties the DJ's hands to where the music that they suggested sometimes is just listening music and not dance music.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then sometimes the music that they choose not to, I actually had to turn down a wedding because of the restrictions that they put on the music.
Now, just highlight that a little bit for me because, um, no disrespect towards anybody that's listening, watching, or whatever, or replays this, but there are types of music that are not suitable for certain events, right?
Absolutely.
You would agree. Okay. So give me a type of music. Like I could think of, my favorite song to come up with is that WAP song.
Right, right, right,
That's my favorite song because that's the only one I know where I've heard the clean version and the dirty version, and the clean version sound like the dirty version just with a bunch of bleeps in it. You know
right,
what I'm saying? So
right,
I still know what they were saying. But like, um when you're, and we've talked about this in the past, but I do just want to say, when you're doing these events, be mindful. See, here's the thing, and I'm gonna sidebar for 1 second. When you guys are planning these parties, kids' parties, graduations, retirement, engagement, weddings, when you're planning these events, you're planning to invite friends and family. Keep that in the forefront of your mind when you start talking about this music that you're going to play, because your music selections can come off very, very disrespectfully. And you can also put your DJ or your vendor, your DJ entertainer vendor, into a rock and a hard place, which doesn't really work for them.
right,
And most reputable DJ entertainers, vendors will knock down that hard place and just tell you can keep on hold on to that rock, and they're gonna go that way over there because they're not gonna fool with it. But
right.
as guests, please be mindful that this is not about what you want to hear. If you want to hear WAP, go to your car, okay? Turn on your twist your ignition to that little spot and put in the CD or play your YouTube music. But
Well,
don't ask them to play that in the middle of Everett's 18th birthday party or his graduation party or Jackson's celebration of life. Like don't do that. Don't do that. Don't
well,
do
see, I think that's where a lot of things they, because like the one particular one that I comes was the very first event that I had to cancel, or the first event that was canceled based on music selection, is I
that.
had this one bride that was determined um, to pretty much make her wedding day a very difficult wedding day.
A night at the club.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no, no.
okay.
This was a I'm like, I'm going to get back at everybody, make their lives miserable type scenario, and I couldn't be a part of that. Is like when you choose no line dancing music um, for an event,
No line dancing.
no line dancing music. So most DJs, you
Is that
can.
one
The
of the
thing
first things that people ask
is
for?
in today's society, in today's music, there's almost a line dance for almost everything that has a beat.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as And I asked the question. I said, "Well, what if I play a song that's not designed for line dancing, and they start doing a line dance to it? Then cut the song off." Okay, that right there let me know I can't be her DJ,
Mm-hmm.
because in this world, it's like, for example, people have to pay attention to how our society is changing. When we go to events, who are the primary people that dance?
Well, outside of your nephew.
No, well, majority of the time, the people that dance are ladies. You don't
Yeah,
have
that's
you don't have the couple dances anymore. So most time when people are dancing, it's more so the ladies. And so when you
because we're
don't
the
have
ones that know the line dances, right? We're usually the ones that know the line dances.
right, so majority of the time is people want to hear line dancing music, or the line, because that's the first thing they hit you with.
Mm-hmm.
The most requested songs is, can you play the wobble? Can you play the cha cha slide? Can you play the cupid shuffle? Can you play the biker shuffle? Those are the primary dances that people ask for. A lot of DJs, of course, yeah, we're tired of hearing those songs. We're tired of having to play them all the time, but that is a norm. So when you put restrictions on a event where you want no line dancing, there is no such thing, because people will line dance to anything. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just like you take, for example, you play Cameo Candy, everybody's gonna do electric slide to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of
We
like,
always saw the best man. Stop playing. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we all see, right? Yeah, I'm saying, just that's like, ever since the best man, like, Candy is one of the most popular songs requested at weddings, so they can do the electric slide to it
We
if
love
they
that
don't
daggone
request the
singing.
electric slide. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say people have to understand that when you put those restrictions, some restrictions are on, you can't control their destiny. Like, now I can understand you don't want one song to be played or two
Hi,
songs.
WAP. Don't you play WAP? No, I'm sorry.
Right. I
Sorry.
mean, I can understand that. Now, I've had some where they don't want to hear the electric slide. They don't want to hear the Cupid shuffle.
Okay.
And that's fine. That's like that one. But then there's other ones that are out there that people want to line dance to.
Yeah,
And
like
what,
that Mary J song, Fine. There's a
right.
line dance to that.
Like, there's a line dance to that. Like, I Don't Need by Jamie
Jim
Foxx.
Fox.
That's a line
Mm-hmm.
dance to that song. The Terminator, everyone calls it the Terminator reactor. So it's kind of like there's a line dance to a lot of music that you can't control what people dance, how people dance. So when I had that one customer, I think it was my first year in business, and that was her restriction. I said, I can't do that, because and the thing is, people have to understand, as a DJ, our reputation, every time we play, we
Mm-hmm.
are representing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if a client or customer see that I'm playing garbage, in a sense, not because I choose it, because I am told it, that's why I will turn down an event quickly in a heartbeat if someone puts in restrictions, too many restrictions, to where I can't do anything.
Very true.
Very, very true. Richard Keefe, you hit it right on the nose. People don't realize the DJ's best advertising will come from the word of mouth or in person experience. And that is the biggest thing that people need to understand, is how we perform. It kind of like, it's who we are. So if we don't play line dancing music, or if we play music that has cusses in it, that's an automatically turn off for future customers. That's why, as a DJ, you have to be careful which events you accept and which ones you choose not to do. Okay, so whose turn is it now? You did the DJ one. Whose turn is it? Is it my turn?
It's your turn now.
All right. Did you know that if you do not submit your stuff on time,
Mm-hmm.
it can cause a major impact on your event?
Okay, so when you say submit your stuff on time, give
Your
me an
requirements, like, if there is a requirement, if there is a requirement, a vendor requirement, and the vendor says, "Hey, I need to have your numbers for your event 30 days prior," and you
example.
choose to turn in 2 weeks prior,
Mm-hmm.
it has a direct effect on your event.
it I'm not even sure how to respond to that. To say that doesn't make sense, because it should make sense. It should be, I'm gonna say, common sense. It should be in there somewhere. The problem is, like, for instance, I have had in recent months where I have emailed documents to clients, asking them to complete them and email back to me. And then 30 days out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, suddenly I'm getting handwritten stuff that I got to decipher.
Well, see, I think the biggest problem we have in today's society, people feel as though that if they're paying for it, they don't have to follow rules.
Listen, we about to go on a whole nother level right now because I don't feel good, but I'm about to step out. Listen, when you're paying for a service, it's a service. I think there's a misconception. You're not paying for me as a person to be your lackey. You're paying for a service that I provide. Just like they're not paying for you to be their lackey, meaning to run around and do all their stuff that they just can't seem to figure out how to do or what. That's
Right.
not that's not what you're paying us for. You're paying us for a service that we're going to provide that's stipulated on paper as to what we're going to provide. All this extra stuff that y'all keep trying to put on us, don't do it. Stop it, please, because it's annoying. It is almost a form of entitlement. It is quite selfish at times. It's actually crossing a lot of boundaries. These super late night phone calls or text messages, y'all got to stop. We have lives. Um, Husbands, wives, children, some grandchildren, mothers, fathers, in-laws. Um, how about we need our own peace and quiet moments?
Well,
See,
it's kind of like one of those things that it's a common thing to where if there's boundaries in place, respect those boundaries. I get it. As entrepreneurs, it's hard to enforce boundaries to a degree because people don't look at us as corporate individuals or as companies. For example, if Walmart closes at 11 o'clock, there's nothing you can do about that. Well, with us, they feel as though we're so easy to contact, we're like a more of a personal connection that they feel is that they can get away with going past those boundaries because they're paying that dollar bill. And I think people need to understand that you're not paying to have easy access. You're paying for our professionalism. You're paying for our knowledge. You're paying for our skill set.
our
So
services.
our services all together. So
Yeah,
people have to understand that don't look at it as though you can micromanage people because like my thing is if you're coming to hire a service is because you really don't know what to do. Don't hire somebody and then try to dictate. It's like how are you going to you've only
it's like
done
it's like hiring a plumber to fix the commode that you don't know nothing about fixing, but then you're gonna stand over his shoulder and ask him 55 questions while he's doing it. Stop it. Get out of
or
his way and let him do his work.
right. And that's what people have to understand is that when you hire someone to do a event, give them their space to do the event. If you are going to sit there and micromanage them, then that's where it becomes an issue. And I think that's where a lot of DJs don't like doing weddings because there's a higher chance of micromanaging. If it's not coming from the couple, it might be coming from the event coordinator or the planner. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of DJs don't like to do weddings because of that atmosphere of micromanagement.
Mm-hmm. That'll drive anybody to drink heavy tea.
So I think that's one of those things that people need to
Oh
recognize
my gosh.
when you hire a professional, let them be professionals.
That would be
All right, your
very nice.
turn. I
So what?
said your turn.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of piggyback on what we just talked about and say, did you know that the average entrepreneur that doesn't have a regular 9 to 5 still has an incredible amount of responsibility outside of your event? Meaning, they may not be working for a corporation from 9 to 5, but they also work for the other, I don't know, 20, 30 other, clients that they have. So, did you know that you really can't dictate their time? Did you know that?
I'm gonna say you know what I'm gonna agree and take it one step farther.
Okay.
Is don't think that you're the only one.
Mm,
I
mm.
mean, that is
Wait
a,
a minute. Can you do a repeat on that?
like I said, don't. I mean, the biggest piece is that people have to understand there is more than one event going on during that time. I mean, like right now, I'm looking at my month of September, and I have about 2 events per weekend. In some cases, three. I mean, because I have like next weekend, I have 3 events.
Hmm.
So people have to understand is that you're not the only one.
So
And
your last minute stuff is causing a ripple effect in my world. Because if you're last minute and then somebody turned their stuff in on time, I'm working on their stuff when I should have been working on your stuff because you didn't turn your stuff on time. So they turned their stuff on time. So I'm working on their stuff now. Now here you come with your stuff too for your event. But I got another event after yours that's to be done. Like what the hell?
oh,
I'm not an octopus.
in some cases, it's even worse because then you have some people that they want to get an early jump and they want to turn their stuff in early, and then they make 5,000 changes after they turn their stuff
Oh
in.
my gosh. Don't even. That's another one. That's
So I mean,
wait.
that's one of those things where it goes back to where you're not the only one. So I have had people in the past they're turning their stuff in 2 months in advance. I'm explaining to them, okay, look, I'll take your stuff, but I am working on this event, so your event's going to get put on the back burner because it's not time for me to start working on it. And
Mm.
they'll want to push it, and then the ones that push it, they'll get the stuff in. And that's why I said my timeline is 14 days because normally 14 days you already don't figure out what you really
Every
want.
change you're gonna make and all that.
Right. When you
And
turn
I
it
would
in,
love to say that I could do that too, but I can't because people just don't seem to get it
right.
that I need it early. Because as you said, they're not the only event that I'm working on. They're not the only one that I'm trying to get completed. They're not the only one that what I'm saying. It's just a lot. And I just don't think they understand it. Like it's a
They don't.
lot.
And I think that's the biggest problem is they need to understand there is a process. And when we sit down and explain to you the process, there's a reason why we're telling you we want the stuff 14 days prior. There's a reason why we're telling you we need it 30 days prior. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand is like the planning phase is you need to understand if you are not familiar with how things are supposed to operate, then you have to follow the lead of the experts. You can't come in and dictate things if you've never done it before.
Oh,
Uh,
wait. Let's clear a path real quick for those that have done a couple of events or have done some portion of an event, and they think they know everything. But then you hire a professional to do the work for the event, but then you want to micromanage them.
right.
Let's hit on that one too.
So that's why I say it's critical that people, if you're going to hire a professional, let the professional do their job. And if a professional, and again, it goes back to knowing what a professional looks like. If you're dealing with someone, there's signs that if you're dealing with people and you're not getting your questions answered within their first meeting, then that's when micromanage comes into place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a double-edged sword because you got some vendors that are not properly well organized,
Mm-hmm.
to where they're not providing all the information up front to the customer. So the customer then has to intervene and then has to do more just to get a straight answer or
Mm-hmm.
to get the answers that they want to hear for their event.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is it your turn now?
I think it's my turn.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you know that? Oh no, I'm sorry. I think what do? All right. Did you know that DJs hate it when they're put in the corner?
Yes, I do because my brother is a DJ. Oh,
Okay.
shit, that's you. So, um, and can I expand on why they don't like being put in corners?
Oh yeah, I mean I can. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
because I'm about to
let's
go deep
let's
into that one. I'm
let's
gonna
double
go.
tag. Let's double tag that one for me. Um, the first reason, and this should be common sense, but it's probably not. Um, the DJ is a huge part of the flow of an event, be it a party, retirement, graduation, whatever, wedding, whatever. They when you see, I'm gonna use a wedding just specifically because I'm thinking about ceremonies at the moment. When you even if it's an indoor ceremony, a DJ needs to have full access and view of everyone coming into the space, not just the guests, but the actual wedding party. Because if you notice when you attend a wedding, the music changes, right? So when guests are arriving, there's certain music that's played then, and then when the official bridal party, procession starts, which would normally be like the officiant and the groom, the music changes, and a DJ has to be able to see everyone's interest so he doesn't miss his marks or his cues for everything that's happening, which means he has to have full view of the space, let alone for a reception that or a party where you got a guest of honor that's going to be entering the room. You can't really stick, they have to be centrally located. That doesn't mean dead center of the room, but they have to be in a position where they can see everything,
Right.
especially the dance floor, y'all.
Right. And that's not, to me, it seemed like it should be common sense
It should be.
that the DJ should be close to the dance floor. That should be a common sense thing. But what happens majority of the time is that the decorators will override the DJ because they will want to have a better look versus better entertainment. And that is the problem. Like I've actually seen it in some cases in venues. It's a standard to put the DJ in the corner, away from the dance floor. So then, what the things that people have to understand is when you put a DJ in the corner away from the dance floor, number one thing is the DJ has to do one or two things. Either
Mm-hmm.
they got to reposition their speakers to where the speakers are closer to the dance floor, or they got to adjust the volume up a little bit higher
Mm-hmm.
just to reach the dance floor area.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
So that is one of the biggest things. That's just a regular, that's your regular DJ now. For a video DJ, line of sight is critical. If you're
There
putting
are
me in the corner,
cameras,
right?
right? There are cameras. There are video screen monitors that are up. What the lighting stuff that's going, like there's a lot. There's a
There's a
lot
lot of
that
special
goes
stuff because if you put, like, for example, if you take a DJ and their DJ setup is designed to where it's all connected into one.
on. Mm-hmm.
They don't get me wrong, they can do certain things to meet those requirements, but when you're so focused on your decor to where there's no space for the DJ to make any adjustments for the dance floor, then you are taking away the actual effect that the effect that DJ can have on your event.
Well, also keep in mind too. Sometimes when you have too many dang on people, okay, when you have too many people, they start. Oh, he's so cute. Um,
Thank you,
but
Brad.
the number of people in the space that you're in, if you have too many people, now you're really limiting the space that your DJ can occupy because you have too many people.
Right.
You
I
know,
mean, that is, and that's another part of it is because you have too many people, you have no choice but to put a DJ in the corner.
yeah, and that's really not. And I don't want to be mean or sound mean, but sometimes you know smaller is actually better.
It's
I have
more
a
intimate. It is. It
yeah.
actually works out better.
I mean, I've done weddings for like 30 people. Even in the pandemic, I think I did a few that was like 20, 25 people. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And the largest one I've ever done is 650. And I'll be honest with you, I like the smaller weddings better. They're more fun.
Right, and I think that's the thing where when I go to event, I remember when I first started this, I used to get upset all the time. Now I just, like I said, I when they say something about putting me in the corner, that's one thing. Putting a DJ in the balcony, okay, I'm gonna, I'm gonna address that. Um,
It's like putting baby in the corner. Sorry.
no, the balcony is even worse
Oh my God. That one scares me.
because then the DJ is completely disconnected from the event.
And has to look
So,
over something. Oh, that's scary.
right. The line of sight for microphones. I learned this the very first time someone, an actual wedding, put me in an actual balcony. It had such a bad effect on my microphones. The line of sight for my microphones were terrible because since I was so high up,
And that railing that they have usually.
yes, it just makes things terrible for DJs. So
Interference.
so the biggest problem, the biggest thing is if you're going to use a DJ, try to plan to put the DJ in the actual near the dance floor. The farther away you put a DJ from the dance floor, that you're taking away their actual power to be more
Their
effective.
affectability. Yeah, I think you're right. You're right.
Those smaller weddings are the best, most more personal.
Right.
You feel like part of the
Brad, there is so
other.
much. Like, I'm not trying to discourage people from having big weddings or whatever, but honestly, you have the best time when there's smaller groups.
You do.
The best time. As a vendor, you, even if you're not doing anything but standing in the corner, you see how much more fun these weddings are for people. You have more engagement, more involvement, more just excitability. The more people you have, I'll be honest with you, sometimes you're inviting your enemies and your haters into your event, and they are going to be killjoys like a mug. They're
Hmm.
going they're going to comment negatively on any and everything, anything to disrupt your day. But that's a whole nother thing. Is it my turn yet?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay. So, did you know that you? Well, let me figure out how to phrase that right. Okay, yeah. Did you know that you, as a guest, have a responsibility to your host or hostess or couple?
Okay. Can you go a little bit more in detail on that one?
Okay. You have the responsibility to be respectful, to be aware, present, and abide by rules. And when I say that, most venues don't have the rules posted on the door before you walk in there. But let's just be honest and say there's a level of decorum that should be considered when attending special events, weddings, parties, whatever they may be. Um, if you don't put if you don't put your trash on the floor at your house, and even if you do, don't do it there. If you don't if you don't leave your plate and stuff on the table, like if you went to the buffet line to get your food, ain't nobody coming to put your stuff in the trash for you. Get your behind up and go put it in the trash. Okay? Thank you. Did you know that when you sit in that chair, we don't need you breaking nobody's equipment because you're not going to be the one paying the bill. Your friends are. Whoever invited you to that event, whoever signed that contract at that venue or with that rental company, they're going to have to pay for that. When you go to an event, you have the responsibility to respect the person who is hosting or having the event. Love them and respect them enough to not cause them problems after the fact. Okay? That's all I'm asking. Thank
Okay. My turn.
you. Mm-hmm.
Did you know that people do not invite children because people do not know how to control their children in a proper social environment?
And if you don't put up that video right now of that little girl and that daggone cake, I swear, oh, my whole energy level went somewhere else. Baby, listen to me. I got kids. My kids are grown, true enough. I have children. I remember when they were little. Go somewhere. That's right. Because, Hunty, it's this video my mother posted. I don't know, a couple weeks ago. She tagged me in it. And it's a little girl at a wedding. Can you
I
find it,
think
Mario?
yeah, I think I can get it real quick.
Hunty, that thing, it took me like a day, I think, to respond to that video or some hours because my immediate reaction was not going to be PC. And you could tell that thing got me hyped because y'all know I'm really sick. Seriously, I'm sick as a dog, but I'm on here today. But that thing got my whole blood roaring. You hear me? Because that thing messed my whole head up when I seen that little girl at that wedding. Now the whole thing was put up as a joke. You know, people love to say, "I'm not going anywhere without my child," and blah 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 blah. I get it. I understand. I've had things I've had to miss out on because I had children too. I understand, and we can't always go everywhere with our children. Now you see me, you see them. Normally, that's 9 times out of 10. But that's like going to Walmart or going to, you know, the store, you know, the grocery store, whatever, you know, or going running to the store to get something, or going to the gas station, or going to grandma's house or whatever. Yeah, you're gonna see them all like that. But if it's an event and it's not a church event where everybody can bring their everything, because you know your kids know how to act better when it's a church event anyway. But if you can get invited to something and you can't take your children, just make a conscious choice. A conscious choice. Either I'm gonna have a babysitter or I'm gonna send them behind at home. Just make a choice. That's all I'm asking. Did you find that
and,
video?
and, and I think, yeah, I got it. And
Bring that video, please.
people have to understand that when if you know you can't, like, and my thing is this: little children, um, technically going to, a lot of people don't want little children to go to weddings because, like, you don't want it to distract from the event. And then in some cases, even you have a lot of venues, because of their insurance, they don't want children
When they're
because,
serving alcohol, right?
well, right, either alcohol or
That's a
just,
whole other. Did you know? Yeah,
huh?
that's a whole other. Did you know? But
Right.
let's play that video, please.
Okay.
I
So
need them to see this video because that thing just struck me to my whole core. Uh oh.
okay, so here we go. Add.
So the thing says, basically, I don't go anywhere without my children. This is like a me person saying this right here. So then this is the daughter's reaction to the I don't go nowhere without my children. You see what she's doing to that cake? She is destroying someone's one, two, three, four, five, 6 tier cake. Do you have any idea how much that cake probably cost? Probably somewhere around $1,200. On the cheap end, maybe $850, but realistically about $1,200. Do y'all know that I would have had a psycho moment coming out of me seeing that child destroy that person cake like that? Y'all know how
But
wrong
that's
that
what.
was?
But that's what happened, because I know in one case, I remember a child picking up one of my lights and playing with one of my light systems, um, like it was a toy. And I
Mm-mm.
looked up and I saw it, and I saw the parent was just looking at the child and didn't do anything about it. So I said, "Oh, okay." So I made a comment. "Oh yeah, shoot, I need some new lights. I mean, they number $300. You know, if
Oh
you
Lord.
know." So yeah, go ahead. They can play with it. And as soon as I made that comment, they decided to go say something to their child. So that's why there's a lot of reasons why a lot of people don't want to invite little children to their wedding, particularly their wedding, is because the parents don't want to control them in that environment.
Mm, 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 mm. Ooh. Okay. One
So
more
it's your
thing.
turn.
Did you know that? And I know we kind of hit on this earlier, but I got another way to ask it. Did you know that we as vendors um, require downtime? Require like we go to the doctor like you go to the doctor. We get sick like you get sick. Um, but that we're so headstrong with stuff. Unless I die, I'm gonna be at your event. Like that's just me. But sometimes you have to. Did you know that you have to allow vendors to have their time too, as people?
And
Did I
again, that
say that
goes.
earlier?
I like me. It's just like when you sit back and you address that, the boundaries at the very beginning. That's crucial. Now I know, like with a lot of my clients, I highly recommend that I put my boundaries in place, and that's what my next one. Did you know is coming up right behind to support what you're saying too?
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing is there's got to be boundaries in place. People have to put their boundaries in a position to where there's a difference between personal time and work time. Okay, we lost Tish for a second. I know she's going to come back and join us, but that's one of the biggest things that people need to understand, that you really have to put boundaries in place as a vendor. These are things that you should establish at the very beginning. When I do my presentations, my briefings, even on my contract, I'm very very detailed in reference to um, as I'm very detailed about my boundaries, and I'll say from Tuesday through Friday, you can reach me from 10 to 6. And if there's any time that you need to talk to me after, like let's say if you get off work late or whatever, we always make those arrangements to where we meet on those terms. But like most of the time is like the biggest issue I have is when you're calling me on a Saturday or a Sunday, the chances are you're not going to get me because I'm doing events. So
Hello.
those
Can
are
we go
things
back to that? You're not the only one.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, literally, I tell everybody in the beginning, after Thursday, it's a hit and miss with me. Friday,
right,
Saturday, Sunday. It really is a hit and miss for me because I'm either packing, prepping to pack, or heading to an event setup.
right,
It depends on the date. If it's a Friday event, sometimes I get to set up on Thursday. And if I get a day early to set up, I'm going to go set up. If it's a Saturday event and I may get a chance to do something on Friday, I will probably take advantage of that. Sometimes we have to do you and I have been together when I had a wedding on a Saturday, but I was there on Friday for rehearsal, but got there a few hours before that and started setting up.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So there predictability in my schedule is non-existent. And I don't feel, and Lord forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel I should have to justify my time to every single one of my clients. If I'm not available, I'm just not available. Patience is a virtue. I promise you, I'll come back to you as soon as I get a moment. But there are times where we may not be available
Absolutely.
for that every moment that you have a question.
And that brings me to my next.
Uh-oh.
Did you know text messaging a event planner is the worstest way to communicate? There is
Yes,
no
because I go
way,
through phones like shoes.
right? There is no way for us to go back and pull up. Like I'll get a text message,
From a
and
random number that's not saved in my phone. I have no idea who that is.
right, and that's what irritates the hell out of me. Like I got one the other day. Oh, our time for our dance is going to be from 2:30 to 4. Okay, who are you? What dance are we talking about? Like I said, I have 20 different people who have contacted me for that. You're not the only person that I talk to. And then if I don't, I'm not going to tag every single person, every single customer that calls me. That's crazy.
You're not going to save every number. No,
No,
you're
I'm
not
not
going
going to
to.
save every number.
And here's the
So
thing: when you text a vendor, why don't you include your name, the date of
right,
your event,
right,
the time of your event, something that gives us a clue as to who you are? I'm pretty sure there are people that call anybody else's phone who does not run a business. They don't save every single number. But as business owners, do you know how many people be in our contacts? And we saved every number that called us.
it'll be crazy.
There's no way to do that.
And then the biggest part about a text message is that you can't, when we're asking for documentation, pictures, video clips, whatever it is,
Yeah, don't text it to me.
sending it to our telephone is a waste of time. We can't do nothing with it. We can't
Email it.
do zero with it. So to me, text messaging, if you want to send me a quick message about something, that's one thing. But when it comes to information, like the reason why we really stress emails is we, like with me, for example, perfect example is the email that you put on your contract is how I track all your material. So if you decide to use a different email, which has happened before in the past, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to track everything dealing with all your data. Same thing with payments. There's a way and method to where we have to tell. I tell my customers all the time: if you choose to go Cash App or or Zelle, it's crucial that you put your name and information so I know where the money's coming from. I had
And know
one
where to apply the money to.
right, and like I had one person. It wasn't for the fact that their name. I didn't know where money came from. It's been numerous times that's happened. So that's why
Yeah,
it's
their names don't always match their Cash App thing or their Venmo thing. Like their real name, like we may know them by the real name,
right,
and the Venmo may have another name. I'm like, who the heck is that?
right.
That's a real thing.
And then
Um,
Brad said, please don't call or text before 9 a.m.
I'm noticing that my eye still looks bad today. Um,
But
But I'm just I'm gonna say this. Yeah, I know. Don't, please don't. Though I have had people do that. I had a 7 something call this morning, and
but
they'll say,
the quickest way to sabotage your event is to text the vendor important information.
no. I'm gonna tell you another one too. Another on top of that, not no, but on top of that, another way to sabotage your event is to be a micromanager and to not respect boundaries, because that'll make a vendor feel like this contract needs to be canceled.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And depending on the policies in their contract, either you may or may not get any money back. And that would be through your own actions. Because what people don't understand is when you are constantly bombarding somebody, constantly, but like yet you're slow on doing your side, but you're triple checking and quadruple checking the vendor on their side. That's irritating. We still human,
Right.
professional or not. We still human. And then if you're doing all that before the event, we can only imagine how you're going to be during the event. And
Right.
that's the quickest way to make us be like, you know what, this don't feel right, Lord. This ain't a fit for me. Let me walk away from this.
Absolutely.
So unless y'all want to keep losing vendors, I suggest y'all learn how to walk respect the boundaries. I'm gonna keep saying it, respect the boundaries. But anyway, okay.
You're
So it's
next.
my turn again.
Hmm.
Okay. Let me see what my other one was. I had one more I wanted to touch on. Oh, venues. Did you know that most venues have um, time frames that they rent their spaces for? For instance, to elaborate just a bit, if I wanted to throw a party, a birthday party at the Intrigue, I believe there's a 6 hour package, there's an 8 hour package, and I think there's a 12 hour package, something like that, right? I'm just guessing. And so Cheryl sees this, don't come from wrong, but I'm just throwing that out there. So if my package is from 4 to 10, and I get Miss Cheryl and them to set it up and everything, that means everybody got to be out by 10. That's all my vendors, all my guests, and everybody else. What I hate to see for those that like to hang around is y'all that want to linger in the parking lot, on sitting by your cars, standing out in front of the venue in the parking lot. Can y'all go home or meet at Waffle House or something and get off the people's property, please? Because venues have rules,
Right.
and y'all aren't helping if you're not following them. And I'm not saying this was a post outside their door. They shouldn't have to tell you this venue is only booked today from 4 to 12. If the thing ends at a certain time, go outside. Leave. When you start seeing these vendors breaking down stuff, like taking chair covers off, taking centerpiece off, that's your cue. Go outside.
Yeah.
Mario.
But I agree 100%. It's like one of the biggest things. That's why most of the time a DJ will stop playing music because as long as the music is playing, people will hang out.
Mm-hmm.
They will not leave. So like most time when it's time to go, I should then people want to play. Oh, can you play? No, I can't play one more song because y'all not going to leave. The whole purpose of breakdown is that we have to meet a requirement to where the customer or the client does not have to pay extra and that's what kills me is that these individuals will hang around and get in our way, which slows us down from trying to get stuff broken down. So it is crucial that that once the event is done, it's done. It's time for y'all to move out. That's something that people really need to understand, that time is everything when it comes to a venue. Venue have certain times that we have to be cleared out of. Sometimes, if like for me, it takes me a whole hour and 30 minutes to break down my equipment, but it's hard for me to break down my equipment if I got people standing in front of my light systems or standing my still trying to use the actual selfie station. That causes problems. So that's the reason why there is a timeline to make sure that everything is met to where the client does not take on any additional costs for setup and breakdowns. So that is something that and then at the same time people need to understand what's in your contract. One of the biggest issues that people run into is they misunderstand their contract when it comes to their venues. If you read your contract, it very clearly says, like it'll say your guests have to be cleared out at such and such time, or it'll say everyone, including vendors, have to be cleared out by such and such time. Don't make assumptions on breakdown time or time in general. People really need to understand that when we have our timelines, there's a reason for it. If you're doing an event for 200 guests and you have to be out of that venue by midnight, everybody has to be out by midnight, including the vendors, then most likely you're going to have to end your event at 10 o'clock. So people need to look at the planning factors before they start to go in and lock in venues, because that's what happened quite a few times, is that a person will go in, get a venue, lock in a timeline, but then the timeline is not feasible for a wedding day, or it's not feasible because of the type of how many guests you're inviting. And it takes a longer time to set up and break down. So all that comes into play on paying attention to what your venue contract says on time in and out. And then as far as like what Tish was saying is about people hanging around, all it does is make things difficult for us to do our jobs when it comes time for breakdown, or in some cases setup. So showing up too early can cause more problems than what it's worth. I hate when people show up 2 hours early, or I should say guests show up 2 hours early because all they do is get in the way. So take that in consideration. The next one, I think I'm next on that, is um, pretty much, did you know that, I'm trying to remember what it was. Did you know that it is critical that when dealing with vendors, there is a contract in place? 80% of vendors that do not have contracts are the main ones that have caused problems and issues with the event. Let me say that one more time. 80% of the vendors that do not have contracts will
Mm,
cause more problems for your events. A
mm,
contract is an outline of what's expected, what will be done, and how it will be done. When a vendor or a venue, in which I've yet to come across a venue that doesn't have a contract, but if they do not have contracts, how do you know what type of services they're going to provide? How do you know when they're going to provide the services? How they're going to provide the services? The five W, was it the five W's and the one H?
mm-hmm.
All applies in that contract. If you, and I'm saying this across the board, as a client, as a customer, if you're giving money to people without a contract, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Thank you. Very
That
good.
is the most worstest thing, and I don't understand. And I will say this to all my vendors out there: if you don't have a contract, you don't need to be in business.
Listen, there are a ton of apps out there, but let me start off with this. Dr. Google can get you a contract. There are tons of groups on social media, especially Facebook, that are basically a garden of Eden, so to speak. They have there are groups like, for I'm gonna use a DJ group for example. No, as a matter of fact, I'm using decorators group for example. There are several decorator groups that I'm a member of that literally have a whole section in a tab in the top that says files, where you can click on that, and they have people have uploaded their own contracts, excuse me, to give examples or outlines to newcomers to the field to say, hey, this contract works for me.
Right.
Yeah, they templates, that's what I need, the word I was trying to
Right.
find.
Right.
You can find a template on Google if you need to, but in a lot of these groups on social media, I'm not saying that everybody likes to share stuff, because everybody don't, but a lot of the vendors in there, they truly have been through all the steps, have missed a few steps, slipped on a few steps, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times they're more willing to share things to help others not trip and fall as much as maybe they did. But I'm telling you, those contracts are out there. And when you brought that up, it made me think about my a wedding I have coming up, where there are several vendors that there are no contracts for it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, on the inside, I am freaking out. I'm not their planner, I'm just a decorator. But I promise you, I am freaking out and just mere, I don't know, anxiety driven terror that there somebody's not gonna show up or somebody's gonna do what they're supposed to do. I'm
Right.
so terrified.
And then just like what you call, like when people rent equipment, there is a small contract in place. And it might not be an actual contract, but it's a do you know, or it's gonna be one of those things to give you guidelines what's expected if you damage this piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's true. That's
That
true.
contract goes both ways. It works for the vendors and it works for the client.
Mm-hmm.
It's an actual tool that makes it solid for both sides. And when there is not a contract in place, it causes chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, like for example, as a decorator, like one of the incidents I've seen is, okay, when it comes to catering, who provides the tablecloths?
It depends.
And that is important. That's why it's important that
Mm-hmm.
all this information is laid out in the contract. Um,
Because there are some caterers that bring their own,
right,
right?
right,
I like to reach out to caterers ahead of time and ask them how many tablecloths do you need, what size tables do you need, so that if I'm providing the linens, and it's in my contract with the client to provide those linens for the caterer as well. I try to have all that ironed out with them. Unfortunately, what happens is that you have some caterers who don't seem to have a full understanding of what they're supposed to supply, or they will give you, oh, I only need two tables, and then they get there the day of it, oh, I need two more tables.
right,
You said you only needed two. What if I didn't bring anything extra?
right. And
What
I
then?
think and I think that's the part that bothers me the most is the chaos starts when one vendor does not do what they're supposed to do.
There you go.
And that's where the chaos starts. Is that when I say chaos starts, it is crazy.
Snowball effect, baby.
Very, very snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that's the standard for how all the rest of us as vendors are going to get treated. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have a contract in place. Okay, guess what? Now they're asking questions. They're now trying to micromanage you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that people need to understand is that if you're dealing with a client, and this is one of those things that I stress to people, if you don't have a contract, then there is this like so is whatever. I had sat back and seen a wedding where a wedding or a person that was supposed to be the event coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
event planner slash decorator, and their entire contract had nothing on there for coordinator or planner. It was all strictly decor. So when the lady messed up the wedding and didn't do right, oh, I wasn't your planner. I was just your actual coordinator. I was just your decorator.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're left in a bad situation to where, well, dang, all the other stuff that she was doing, it wasn't covered by the contract. So then you can't go after them when they mess your wedding up.
There you go.
That's why it's
Exactly.
crucial that you have a contract. And I to this day, I don't understand why people don't understand that concept. Is
Well,
I need to know. My thing is this: I need to know exactly what you're going to do for me before I sign the contract. Better yet, give you any money.
mm-hmm.
It's hard to negotiate that after the fact. After you gave them the money,
Yeah.
it's very hard to negotiate that.
Now, some people will actually say, oh, that's my cousin, my friend, my whatever, whatever, whatever.
They
And
can
so they
brag.
can trust them to do this or that and other thing. But you still need something in writing so you
Right.
know what's going on. Is it something that they do on a regular basis? Oh no, it's just their side hustle. Okay, well, I'm gonna need something in writing. I'm gonna need something on paper.
And majority, and the reason why I said that, I'm glad you said that. The reason why I say that is if there's non-contract in place, what a lot of people like to do is they'll use their family. Okay.
Mm.
And I get it. There are some vendors that are family. Even if you use a family member, a contract needs to be put into place. That is the biggest pivot. That's why I say 80% of the people that do not have contracts or vendors or people that are working in the capacity of a vendor will cause your event to fail or have major issues. A contract is crucial. Now,
Brett, I agree with you. Family get contracts too.
yeah,
Listen, when we did back in March, um we did a party for my husband and his cousin, his first cousin. And it was his 55th birthday celebration and her 30th birthday celebration. Um the venue, the every vendor was a friend, okay, that participated with that. But I had a contract with photographer. Everybody had a contract with me. I know I could depend on them, but I still need it in writing. You understand what I'm saying?
right,
And I needed them to have something in writing from me showing that I was responsible for making the payments. I was responsible for getting them paid. You know, that whole thing. Um, Even when you did my son's party, we did a contract, did we not?
we did
And you're my brother, and that was your nephew. We still had a contract.
we
That was
did
last what May.
last
We had a contract. Like contracts are, and maybe it's us because we're in the industry, but contracts are so important because it literally stipulates the guidelines that each party is responsible for. And if someone falls and doesn't do their part, then you have grounds for whatever
right.
complaining, um, money back or whatever. Then you have grounds. But if look what Brad wrote
Let's see here.
from different mamas, yeah. But my mother adopted him. I swear she did.
Yes, she did.
She kind of just slept with a brother bird. I wasn't ready for it, but I'm just playing. But it's just I think that people seem to feel like, oh, that's family. They're gonna be up. No, like I have a client coming up. Seriously, I hope they're not watching this today. Whose caterer I just had a really bad experience with, and it's their caterer for their wedding, and I'm freaking out because there's no contract.
Right.
None.
And that's where if you're a professional, and I'm gonna
And
say
I'm freaking out because this caterer asked me why he had to put ice in glasses.
wow.
And I went, excuse me?
And
Like they rented the glasses for me.
I think
I'm
that's
not
where
the caterer.
that's all part of the planning thing too. Is that when you, as a planner, as a coordinator, if I'm the event planner for an event and I'm responsible for putting this whole puzzle together,
Mm-hmm.
your contracts are the pieces on what resources, what logistics I need to find. Let's say, for example, the kind of like the gray areas always fall with the decorator and the actual caterer. There's a lot of gray areas when you cross those two together. Who's going to provide the tablecloths? Who's going to provide the tablecloths for the caterer? As far as say, because this
Mm-hmm.
happens a lot. I've seen it fall through the cracks where there's a misunderstanding on who's going to provide the tablecloths for where the food is going to be set up at. Who's going to serve the food? That is another big issue. Is that if in the contract, if it says that we're just dropping the food off, because we've had that happen. I have that
And
happen
who's serving the food?
times.
Yeah, that
That,
comes
that
to
you
what I
didn't
was
pay
saying.
for the food to be served. You only paid for me to make the food. So those are things that is critical that you have these contracts. Cake. Oh my gosh, there needs to be a contract about the cake because then you need to know, okay, is the cake going to be delivered or is the cake, who's going to cut the cake? Do I need to make sure someone's responsible for cutting the cake? And then we all know when you're dealing with those tier cakes, there's a special way you want how you have to cut those cakes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot, the contracts give clarity to how everything's going to turn out. And that's why I said when you come across a vendor that does not do contracts or does not have a contract, 80% of the chance that they are going to be the ones that cause problems or issues for your events. And that's critical. And then, like you said, like Brad, I mean, I just, hey, Cheryl, I just saw that popped up. I just saw that. I'm sorry.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl. But I've stepped back and I stress to people that even with the DJs that I'm training, I actually give them a sample of my contract to where if they need to make changes to it, not say this to any DJ, if you're looking for an actual contract, I will send you my actual layout. My contract is 4 pages long,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes into detail because in your contract it needs to cover all the logistics of what you are going to provide as a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, that's when the client becomes micromanaging because now they're asking you 5,000 questions.
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Karen. But that is a crucial. That's like a lot of people don't know that is they think an invoice is a contract. If that invoice covers all the details of what's going to happen, okay, maybe that can substitute a contract. But a contract is a contract is a contract.
Yeah, a contract is written word, y'all. I'm telling you, and there's some details in it. And if it's like a, we had a contract that we saw, was that last year or earlier this year? That was so detailed. We were both highly impressed about it.
Oh, you talking about the
From
event planner
Virginia,
from Virginia.
yeah, that
That
thing was
contract
crucial.
was so detailed. It talked about the food, it talked about the lodging, it talked about I've never seen a contract that detailed, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was extremely good because you
It was
knew
like what,
exactly
10, 12 pages long.
right. I mean, it was question pretty much 12 pages long. But people need to understand is that clarity is
Mm-hmm.
crucial. Don't just do a contract and you have to have a lawyer to understand it. I mean,
Well, but no, I'm gonna be honest. Our contract was developed by an attorney, so I always tell people when I send
no,
them.
what I'm saying is that if I have to actually go hire somebody to translate what your
Mm-hmm,
contract is trying
mm-hmm,
to say,
mm-hmm.
that's a little
Yeah,
extreme. It should be
yeah.
something to where it's a contract. It gives the what I call back in the military, my military days, the 5 W's and the 1 H.
Mm-hmm.
What, when, where, who, how,
And
um,
why?
and why, and all that is covered in that contract. And if you don't have a contract like that, then you're going to run into problems as
Mm-hmm.
vendors. God knows, I don't know why a vendor would not have want to have a contract. The contract is what's going to protect you.
Honey, I have had to send out literally. I have sample DJ contract. I have a sample photography contract. I have a sample cake and sweet treat contracts. I literally have sample ones that I have had to share with newbies in the field, and experienced people in the field, just to say, hey, you need a contract for that. When I've asked as the coordinator or day of manager or even the actual planner, I've had to ask when I've asked a vendor, say, hey, can I get a copy of your contract for my client? Oh, I don't have one of those. I'm sending them a sample one and in Word and saying, I need you to edit this to your business and then get it signed by the client and then send it back to me with the signature on it. Because there are a lot of people that don't even understand the terms or the rules behind, or the really not even the rules, but the um, importance of a contract. But those are super important.
Right.
Um, is it my turn again?
Yep, that's your because you. I did it while you was out.
Okay. All right. So and I apologize. Yeah, I really am under the weather today, and I'm drinking a lot of water. So um now that Cheryl's on here and Karen's on here, I'm gonna throw something out there. Yes, I can. I can. I will send it to you, baby. Um, send me inbox me your email address, Brad. I'm sorry, I just realized I don't know if I have yours. Thank you, baby. I hope I feel better too. Um, there are okay. Did did you know that there are time limits for setups for events at most venues? Karen can attest to this, and because she's a vendor as well. But Cheryl can attest to this because not only is she a vendor, but she's a venue owner. So when you have events, when you book an event or when someone books an event at a venue, there are time limits. So if their event starts, and I'm just going to throw a number out here, Cheryl and Karen, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because you know I don't mind. Um, let's say I booked uh, a venue from 12 to 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., right? In that time frame, I have to have my decorations done. I have to have my food delivered. My photo booth has to be set up. My DJ has to get set up. My cake has to be delivered, or my treats have to be delivered and set up. Um, then my party has to start. Then my event has to end. Everybody has to break down and clean up. But did you know that I can't? If I start my party at 4, I'm only giving my vendors 3 hours to set up. And if guests start coming in at 3 o'clock, y'all are killing my setup team's time.
You know what? I hit that while you were. Well, I was going over that when you said it earlier about the timing.
Yeah,
I kind
Lord,
of
yeah.
I went hard into that.
Okay, good, because that was my thing. Like I missed
Yeah.
that part. I'm so sorry. But then I got another. Did you know? Did you know that it takes almost 3 hours to blow up balloons for your event? Depending on how much I'm doing. Did you know that?
Okay. Now, question is that 3 hours? Now, and then this is the question I have for that one. Are you supposed to? Is there like? Do you supposed to blow up the balloons at a certain time in order for them to be effective?
Well, yes and no. Because we use air balloons and not helium balloons, air balloons last longer than helium balloons, if anyone didn't know that.
Okay.
But because I've had them last so long, if Letitia Nicole was on here, she would tell you her balloons that I did for her birthday several years ago, she had them up for almost 3 months in her house. So I had to just go there and just start popping them and deflating them all and taking them down. But air balloons can last at least a month minimum, right? But when I'm saying that to say this, when we prepare for like a abstract arts that we're doing for an event, and it may take 250 300 balloons for that, and then we have to do other balloon pieces like maybe some columns at the door, or maybe that backdrop where we go across the top and then we come down the side and all that stuff. Okay, we normally blow them up a day or two before and start putting them together prior to, and then we actually bag them. Well, I'm gonna tell you what we do. We bag them and then have them ready to put in the trailer or the truck to bring, to the event. And then we set them up there. But I was just wondering, do people know how much time it takes to blow up these balloons? Um, and that's not really something we can do on site. So the pricing for those things, did you know that's why the pricing is as it is for those types of things? Because
Oh,
I think I sent you a video yesterday. Do you see the one I sent you?
oh yes, yesterday.
Was that yesterday or not yesterday? It wasn't yesterday. I sent you a video. Might have been last week. I can't remember right now.
Okay.
But I think it was last week. Or it might have been late last night when I got home. There was a video of a whole thing where remember we talked about the pricing video a couple weeks ago of a balloon and actual setup and all that. So I think I sent you
Oh
the video
yes, yes.
last night.
Okay, okay, okay.
You see that? So there's like certain pricing effects is affected by the time frame we have to put into it. Because again, though through tunnel vision, your event is that one day. The preparation for your event started long before.
Right.
So do you actually know the amount of time that decorators put into your event before the day of your event? Let me ask it that way. That's a better question.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the preparation. The stuff that goes on with the preparation is ridiculous because you can't just wait until the day of to start doing it. You got to start
Mhm.
doing it almost like 2 weeks. Most of the time, it's always 2 weeks in advance. In some cases,
A
even
month
farther, what
sometimes.
it is, how many guests you have attending.
Mm-hmm.
So
No joke.
that is something that that's what my next one is going to hit on that because a lot of people make bad assumptions. One of the things I always stress to people: never make an assumption about anything when it comes to event services. Um,
Oh, awake at 2 a.m. designing mode. I'm with you, Cheryl. Girl, lack of sleep the whole week of an event.
right,
Like for 4 or 5 days straight, you only get like 3 to 5 hours.
absolutely, and that's what people out there saying is like. Then think about it: if you're a busy vendor and you got events, you got 2 events per weekend, you really have to start planning. Like you really have to start doing stuff almost like I said, 2 3 weeks in advance, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to do it because then you have other events going on top of that
In between, that's
in
right. Like,
between. So it takes a little more time for preparation. That's why I have my for example, my cycle is 14 days. And when I
I
say
can't function
cycle,
that short of time though.
well, see, with me, it's effective for me because I'm able to do everything I need to do within 14 days. I even have a chart on how every day is broken down when I
Hmm.
prepare for events. And so that's what my next one for me was, did you know that DJs need time to prepare their music? It's not that
Yes.
DJs just don't show up and we magically have all this music. We actually have to prepare music. It's just like me. Is like when I get one of the things I ask for people is give me your paperwork, my planning forms, 14 days prior. And for some odd reason, I'll get these event coordinators, event planners. Oh, he doesn't need it that early. He could do it. Yeah, I have event planners that do that. Well, the thing is, every DJ is different. I take pride in what I do. So when I ask for something 14 days prior, the reason why I'm asking for 14 days prior is so I can rehearse
And
what's
you
going to
know
happen.
what you
Oh,
need
here's
when
what
you
we're
need
doing.
it.
Right.
See,
So it's not
that's back to that. You're not the only one thing.
right.
Stop assuming, and everybody ain't the same.
Right. And that's where there's some of us that take more pride in our work. So when I ask for something,
Wait, I can't stand Brad.
yeah, it's just like I just don't show up and play music. I mean, what it is I have to rehearse, and it's not just the music; it's the flow of the event. The reason why I ask people, okay, I need your schedule of events, is because I want things to flow correctly. When you see me in a situation or an event and I'm making mistakes, majority of the time is because the client gave it to me at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare that I make mistakes, but when I do make mistakes, it's because I didn't have the proper time to plan.
Because we have to listen. Event last weekend. Then I got to shift into event this weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So I don't think people realize that transition is not like a 15-minute thing. That means everything I just learned for last weekend, I got to figure out a way to delete it and then enter all your stuff. Or better yet, like on the computer, pull up your files and start going back to your stuff. Because I just had to execute that one, so now I got to execute yours, and I got one after yours, and I got one after that. Like it's an ongoing cycle. Don't get me wrong. I know I chose this job, this field, this work, this industry to work in, but I'm also having requirements of clients because there's things that I need to do in advance.
Uh-huh.
Because at the same time that I am a professional, um, I need to have things done early. So just in case something does happen, what if I can't do your event and I need to pass on the information to another vendor to fill in for me? What if I have a family emergency? What if I have a medical emergency? What if there's a car accident? Because I did have a car accident one time and couldn't do an event and had to get somebody to step in for me. So I mean, life happens to us too. So there's reasons behind things. We're trying to be prepared, and not so much just for your event, but also just in case.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's for your event, yes, that's the number one reason. But the second reason, so just in case, we have to have coverage for something, or we have to have a backup plan, and we want to make sure everything's in place. It's really just that simple.
If people, and that's what I say, I stress to people, please stop with these bad assumptions. Ask questions. I mean, please ask questions because
But
it
not
is
before 9 a.m. According to Fred, I think that was. Or was that?
yeah, 9 a.m. right. And I think that's one of the things people need to really understand is that um, you got to stop. See, just like how we just don't show up and start taking pictures. Man, or your cameras take nice pictures. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that has to be prepared, and all vendors need that time, that preparation time. So when people come up, and like most of the time, most of us will turn down events that are within a week time frame. Um, if it's a wedding, most of us in the industry won't touch it if it's only 1 week worth of time to plan for it. That people need to understand is that there's a lot that goes on. You can't just show up and do an event because when you just show up with no preparation, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have problems. There's
Yeah,
gonna be
because you're rushing.
because you're actually you're stabbing in the dark because you really don't know what's going on. So I stress to people, like I mean, like right now I know I got a couple of weddings come up. All of them turn their stuff in advance. so I can easily go through and properly prepare for their wedding exactly how they want it. When
Mm-hmm.
I have that time to prepare, I'm good. If most of the time what happens in the past, if I get an actual, and in my contract it's very clear, 14 days. If I don't get my stuff in 14 days, technically I can cancel your event. But
Yep.
if I get it last minute, at that point it is what it is. I mean, your event, you just pretty much sabotage your own event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my best to make it into the best, but you just sabotage your own event because you didn't listen to the timeline that I gave you.
Okay. I agree. So I got one last one, and I love you so much. I'm gonna have to get up because I'm not. I'm gotta go take this medicine
Right.
in a minute. Um, one last one. Actually, I should say two, but I'm gonna say one. Um, did you know that when you book an event, that when you start changing things, there can be penalties?
Oh my gosh. Oh, but yeah, that. Ooh,
Like date change, venue change, people change. Like you can't keep changing something 3 to 4 times a week. I got other stuff to do.
right,
When you book your event, have it defined in your mind. The date, the location, the time frame, the number. Get that stuff together. You can't keep changing those numbers on that caterer. They gotta order food. So 6 months out is one thing. 10 days out, something different. If I've already ordered things in, and especially if you have custom linens that I don't have enough of for your event or something, and I've had to order some stuff in, you can't call me 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 10 days out, and say, "Oh, I need to add." There gonna be some different tablecloths if I ain't got enough, because might can't get them. Because a lot of my stuff, I'm gonna be very honest with y'all. A lot of my stuff I have custom made because I want the quality.
right,
They're,
and a lot of decorators, and that's true. A lot of decorators do a lot of custom made items.
yeah, we don't like that cheap stuff from eBay Mart. So, excuse me, Lord, sorry, from them cheapy companies. Um, because you get what you pay for. You can
Uh,
reuse it
don't
one or
forget,
two times.
don't forget that Dollar
Sometimes this
Tree
stuff
now.
comes dirty.
Don't forget the Dollar Tree hookup either.
Okay, stop it. I'm not going there. I go to the dollar store for certain things, and none of it has anything to do with events. Well, no, I get the pool noodles from them. Sorry, I do get pool noodles from them. Um, but a lot of my stuff I can't just get in like that. And like, okay, me and Miss Cheryl got a place in Charlotte and in Lexington. This the Charlotte place is open more days than Lexington place is. But may not be able to carve out time that week to go back and get more of something something.
Right,
You might not have enough time because you might be 10 days from your event. We might be 3 4 days for this other event. Might not have the time to go get it. It's just you got to be considerate of your vendors. And the week of your event is not the time to start changing all your songs with your DJ.
Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, that happens quite a bit. But
Mm-hmm.
what happens a lot of time is when you start making changes on your actual schedule, your music, that's where mistakes start to happen. The more
Mm-hmm.
changes you make, the higher risk there's going to be more mistakes that are going to happen, take place. Because now we're trying to reprogram what we've been rehearsing for a long period of time. That's why it's like when you get within 14 days, you technically, the only major changes that should take place are the ones dealing with the bridal party or the something dealing with that. It should not be something where we're making drastic changes. It should be minor changes.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Y'all forgive me, I eat my supplements. I'm sorry, I'm a gummy person.
But I think that's one of the things. But yeah, that one was a big one. I think that that is something that we all need to understand, that you need to make up your mind, constantly changing your mind. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you make changes because things happen, but making changes just because you can't make up your mind, that's always a bad thing. Because if you make too many changes, you forget what you said. Like, oh, I thought we were doing this. No, the last change you had. And that's why it's a critical that
Email.
email is critical. Texting changes to vendors is a bad thing because, like me, I don't keep my phone by me all the time. My phone might be downstairs. It might be somewhere else. I'm not going to constantly keep monitoring my phone for text messages.
I don't even know my phone is right now.
Huh?
I don't even know my phone is right now.
And that's what I tell people is like text message. Texting me is that. And most time I will ignore your text message just because. I mean, you should have emailed me this information. I mean, email has who it's from. In most cases, it's easy for us to do a search to see all the stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on with your event. Text messages, that's where
It's like
stuff
the name,
right.
the time, the date, every time. Love it. Love email.
But I think that is crucial. That is critical that people understand that don't make last minute changes. Just don't do it.
Mm-mm,
If you can
stop it.
avoid it, please avoid it.
And again, we understand there's some things you can avoid, but if you're every day, every other day for the last 2, 3 weeks, it's not just them. It's you. We know
Right.
it's you. We're doing too much. Overthinking. There's one thing.
That's
Okay.
why I tell people it's like turning stuff in, and this is what happens all the time. Someone turns in their stuff too early. Like if you're okay, if you hire me, you hire your vendor 1 year in advance, right?
Oh, I expect changes in.
You expect change. No, right. That's why we don't finalize anything until we get within 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Within 30 days, that's when a lot of stuff's getting finalized.
Yep.
Um, changes, and this is the thing I stress to people, is when you're making all these changes within 14 days of your event, and you're making so many changes to where it's hard to keep up. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen too many times.
It
I
gets
had one
lost
person,
somewhere.
they
It gets
changed their
lost somewhere.
songs so many times to where I had all the wrong songs,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like going off a bit. I said, "Well, wait a minute now. Um, I thought we were doing this. Well, no, I text you. No, that's where you messed up at right there. You text me. I said, ask your email because what I'm going to do, my final checks is I'm going to do a search for all the emails that you sent me, and then based off those emails, I'm gonna see everything that's going on, and so I have a record of changes, information, data, video clips. Everything is in that email. When you
Mm-hmm.
text it,
Mm-hmm.
a text message get lost in the sauce all the time.
I can't stand bread. I can't stand bread. Bread, you make me sick.
But that's critical. That's why I say it's like when you plan your time, like that's why we always recommend when you plan an event, try to plan 6 to 12 months in advance.
At least, if
Give
possible.
yourself the time that's needed because once you start to discover all the things you have to do, you have time to react to it.
Yeah. And my last thing, well, no, it's not my last question. It's you're making the last question. You need to
Huh?
pose you got to pose the last question before we go because it's almost 12.
Oh, the last question?
Yeah.
Oh, my last one?
Yeah.
Okay. My last one. Did you know that a professional will always be organized?
No. Really?
A professional will always be organized.
And when you say organized, what do you mean, Mario?
When I say organized, it's like when you go and you talk to a vendor or a venue, after they finish their first contact with you,
Mm-hmm.
you technically you have no questions to ask them. You're gonna have some questions, but they're gonna be so organized and they're gonna stay on top of things to where you can actually relax and your stress level for your event is going to be small and low. When you
There we
don't
go.
hire a professional, you're constantly guessing, you're constantly wondering, you're constantly trying to figure out what's really going on. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, that's when your stress level is going to be high.
And can I answer just one more thing? Sometimes you hire a professional and then you're still overly involved. You're still over analyzing. You're still overbearing. You're still micromanaging. Chill. Stop it. Just trust the process. If here and here's my reason for saying that. If you didn't believe that they could do the job, you would have never hired them. That's all I got. Right.
That's pretty much it.
There you go. All right. So, and again, I don't mean to cut us short today, and I do apologize, to our fans or our followers or whatever. Just not up to the challenge completely today. But I was refusing to not do the show today. How about that? I'm a survivor. What's that song? I'm a survivor. Okay, let me stop jibbling around because I'm about to make myself sick. Anyway, um, thank y'all so much for today. I enjoyed our game. We're probably gonna play this game another time, with another set of questions. We were just kind of like spitballing some questions this morning
Right.
about it. So, and if you guys have any ones that we should say, did you know, as a vendor, shoot them to us. You know how we do. We'll feature it. We will
Right.
share it most definitely. But definitely, you guys have been so supportive. We really appreciate it, and we will talk to you guys again next Wednesday. I think we're gonna have a special guest next week. I gotta verify for sure
Right.
today, but we're supposed to have another guest next week, so we'll hopefully have that person here. I'm not gonna say their name just yet, but once we verify that, we'll probably have a special guest next week as well. Um, Lord bless. Oh, um,
Thank you, Brad.
thank you, Brad. So we thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate your support. We and anytime that we're on here, you guys feel free to chime in like you always do. If you want to share the post, it is shareable on your timeline as well. If you want to invite friends, you can do that as well. We would like to build up our, I guess, our footprint in the internet or in the world of the internet just a little bit, so that we can get more people involved and we can maybe share some more of our knowledge and also gain knowledge from other vendors in the industry. Okay, Mario?
Okay. Absolutely. And again, thank everyone for joining us on the show because, like I said, this is like educating everybody. The biggest thing about this show is we're going to have fun, we're going to enjoy ourselves, but we also want to educate people on the event services. I think
True.
that's what the biggest thing. The reason why we do this is that we really want people to understand when you go out here and you hire vendors, understand what you're getting, understand what you're hiring, what you're getting yourself into. And
Mm-hmm.
if you deal with family, everyone knows when you deal with family what you're going to get.
True.
So it's like the whole thing is to make sure that you're getting the right information for your event to be successful.
True.
But
Very true.
with that being said, I think we are ready to get up out of here again. We'll see y'all next Wednesday. If you're a vendor or a venue and you would like to be on the show as a guest, please let us know. Hit us in
Yes.
our box.
Yes.
We really want to promote all our vendors, all our local venues, or I should say all venues. It doesn't matter if you're local or not. And let
Yeah.
us know because we're really trying to put information out there. You have people looking for you, looking for great services, and we trust me, we would love to.
Hey, Bucky. Sorry, that's my brother-in-law. Hey,
Okay,
Bucky.
we would love to make sure we get that information out there on you. So if you are a vendor and you would like to come in and discuss what you do, how you do, like please let us know. Let's see,
Nice, Brad. We would love to have you.
okay, all right. So with that being said, again, let's see, we got everybody.
Hey, sis. That's my brother-in-law.
Hey,
Anyway, but yeah, you guys are awesome. Let me just say this. When we say local, we mean like to North Carolina. Um, but that doesn't exclude anybody that's in South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia,
Georgia, Florida,
Tennessee,
Tennessee. I mean,
yeah,
we welcome
DMV
all
area,
vendors.
because
Right?
we travel to those areas.
Yes, we
You know,
do.
we go down to Florida and everything. So when we say local, that might mean North Carolina. We say anybody, we're talking about anybody that we normally, any state, because we definitely want to share um, your location because I'm connected with people in other states. So is Mario.
Right.
We're connected with people that are the other vendors. We're in groups with other vendors. So if there's somebody that's looking for you, we can connect you to other folk. You see what I'm saying? Oh Lord, long as the check clear. Okay, Brad, you're right about that. We wheels up, baby. We wheels up. But we definitely want to share um your knowledge and your experiences with our viewers, with other vendors. And you never know. Like Brad was asking me about a template for one of the contracts that I just happen to have. We can always help each other grow, because that's a part of the reason for this show as well, is not just the education, which the education is, the 50% marker for real, and the other parts are connecting with people, sharing information with people, getting people to maybe see things from a different perspective, and also to have fun, of course, but to also just keep broadening our horizons. I'll be really transparent with you guys for a second. My favorite prayer is a prayer of Jabez in the Bible, and it basically talks about increasing your territory. Jabez's name meant pain in the Bible. His mother's in excruciating pain when she had him, so she named him Jabez. And when Jabez learned of God and created his relationship with God, he literally said to God he wanted to not cause pain in the lives of others anymore. And so his request to increase his territory did not really include money. It was about increasing the positive impact that he had on other people's lives. And so that is kind of what I associate with our show. We want to have that positive impact on other people's lives and increase the territory of people that we touch and that we touch in a positive manner. Would you agree, Mario?
I agree.
All right. Anyway, not to get on my Bible thing today, but you guys have a wonderful day, a blessed day, a productive day, and a day of peace. Don't forget that part.
Yes, indeed. A day of
Okay.
peace, peace, peace.
I'm telling you, ain't nothing like it. Oh, Jesus.
Again, thank everyone for showing up for the show, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right, baby.
All
See
right.
y'all later.
Okay.